welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to go ahead and see how does humanity feel about change. I kind of want to check in and see how humanity feels about change, where we're at with change, because I feel like as a humanity, we are taught to be severely afraid of change. And I just want this reading to kind of give us that update, give us any insight, and offer any guidance on how we can shift this for not just myself, not just for you, but for the collective, for humanity. How we can be better, how we can improve, but also realize the reality of where we're at. So let's see. I've already set my intentions. How does humanity feel about change, Spirit? Please channel to me and through me. How does humanity feel about change? Okay, let's see. We have the Justice coming out with the Page of Pentacles. And we have the Three of Pentacles in the bottom. So I feel like what's coming up first here is that change is humanity's justice. Change is how we seek justice as a humanity. Change is how we embody justice. Change is how we reach justice. Seeing life and community, humanity as a collective that can work together with the Three of Pentacles on the bottom to create justice. Change is meant to be seen as something that is new opportunity, that is balancing, that is creating community, love, health. Thank you, Spirit. What else for this energy? How does humanity feel about change? Ooh. We have the Four of Pentacles coming out. So again, it's this energy of like control. So let me see what else. Spirit, can you give me one more, please, here? How does humanity feel about change? We have the Fool with the Two of Swords on the bottom. So there's energy surrounding, when we ask the question of how does humanity feel about change, the Four of Pentacles and the Fool came out, which speaks to me that, you know, as I said, change is meant to be seen as justice. It's meant to be seen as a chance for people to come together. It's meant to be seen as new opportunity. But with the Four of Pentacles and the Fool coming out with the Two of Swords in the bottom, this speaks to humanity being caught up in this sense of control, in this sense of greed, I heard, in this sense of lack, in this sense of not really wanting to share, feeling kind of confused even, in a sense of inner conflict about whether or not it's safe to release control, about whether or not it's safe to embrace change and allow change, because change does involve and require a sense of letting go of control, right? With this Fool card, you can see there's a very distinct difference in these two cards. And this one card, he is looking almost like he's trying to defend himself, right? He's preparing. He's like, nope, this is my chest and whatever's in it is mine. While this card, very free, very open, not holding on to anything, willing. And so right now it's like humanity is in a place of indecision toward change and kind of this defensiveness, because it does require the unknown. And with the Five of Swords, when I split the deck, which speaks about deception, betrayal, things like greed, right? That speaks to the energy of competition even, right? That's what I heard. And we are built, humanity has been built off of and out of competition. So it makes sense that instead of seeing change as this sense of justice and community and help where we can all come together and we can create something new, we see it as losing control of ourselves, of life, of pentacles, of money, of success, of fame, of notoriety, I heard, of image. And we see it more as this fearful thing, something that we juggle, something that we are unsure about, something that leaves us feeling uncertain and in the dark and no longer, I heard, higher up in the hierarchy. So how do we feel about change? It feels like we feel like it's not accessible realistically. Like it's like, oh, I don't know, that's the energy I'm getting. Because of this desire to, I heard, keep up with the Joneses, of this desire to have this hierarchical system instead of a communal system, right? Thank you, Spirit. What else for how does humanity feel about change? What else for how does humanity feel about change? Thank you, Spirit. So we have the King of Swords and the Knight of Wands coming out. And so this speaks to, for me, I notice that this is Knight of Wands and this is King of Swords and the Page of Pentacles and the Four of Pentacles. On most of these cards, this is a woman, this is a feminine energy, and this is a feminine energy, right? At least seemingly so. And these are masculine energies. So what I'm feeling is it's some change. How does humanity feel about change? How we feel about change is directly connected to the masculine energy inside of us, which makes sense, right? When we think of masculine energy, we think of the leader, we think of leadership roles, we think of power, we think of that sense of like selfhood, personhood. With the Knight of Wands and the King of Swords coming out on the Justice, the Page of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles, it's like this energy of, I want to have what I want to have. Like this very individualistic energy, right? Because again, the masculine talks about leading. It talks about direction. It talks about taking control of your life. It talks about creating space. It talks about taking action. And so with this coming out, it's speaking to this desire to take action for justice, but in a personal way, not in a communal way. The cards landed like this, which gives to me that instead of seeing it as a new opportunity, as you can see, this card, he's facing toward justice, but he's not facing toward the seeing it as a new opportunity. So what this speaks to me is that there's energy surrounding kind of wanting to be out for self, being hastily out for self, even aggressively out for self, passionately out for self, and seeking justice. Not necessarily seeking justice for everyone, not necessarily seeking justice for life or community or humanity, but rather seeking justice for self, right? What do I want? I'm going to chase after what I want, which is fine and good when it's healthy. But this is speaking to unhealthy ideas about growth and change and personhood and power and authority. With the King of Swords coming out on the Page of Pentacles and the Four of Pentacles, it's this energy of like sharpness with the tongue, but in a masculine way. It's like this unhealthy sense of control, this unhealthy sense of what I say goes, and I don't really want to work with other people. I want to hold on to what I have. This is what I have, and I'm going to hold on to it, right? I'm not really interested in community. I'm not really interested in working together. I'm not really interested in seeing it as justice for all. I'm interested in seeing it as justice for me. What do I want? What do I need? It's a very unhealthy masculine energy that humanity is and has been taught to operate in, within change, within growth, because it's giving, which we already know, right? It's giving this very individualistic approach, this very separate approach, divisive approach. It feels very tight, restrictive. There's like tension, and it's tension around sharing. It's tension around like giving. It's tension around like not just for me, but for all. Not just for me, but for us. There's tension around that, which makes sense, and that's why the Ten of Pentacles. It was the Two of Swords. I don't know what happened to that card, but the Ten of Pentacles again. This is traditional energy. This is family energy. This is foundational energy. This is generational energy, right? Patriarchal. Makes sense, right? We have grown up in this patriarchal society, which means the generations have grown up in this patriarchal society, which means when it comes to legacy, when it comes to how we view things since way back then, it's been in this frame of mind of tradition, right? Of certain roles needing to be in certain places. Again, it's like masculine and feminine. I'm the man, so I say what I say goes. I'm the man, so da da da. I'm the masculine, so da da da. Like it's not very much. We were never built off of a system of let's all talk about it and let's all figure it out. Let's all work together. We were built off of patriarchal narratives and white supremacy, which comes down to the white man, which comes down to, okay, what does the white man want? Control. It wants superiority. It wants to be better. It wants to abuse power. Right? With the Hermit under the Ten of Pentacles, though, it's like there are people at this time within humanity that are reconsidering this legacy, the sense of like what is humanity known for? Like how do we operate like generationally? And Spirit, let's get one more card from this deck. How does humanity feel about change? We have the Page of Wands. Yeah. So again, it's just that energy of like, whoopsie. Humanity has a hard time with seeing change as a new opportunity, as something that is and can be free flowing. And, you know, some people are doing this work to look at the systems and look at the traditions and see things in a communal, you know, sharing, caring, let's work together way. But at the same time, humanity has been logged into structurally, systemically, foundationally into this system of I'm out for me and nobody else. Individualism, right? Again, this sort of masculine energy. Even feminines have been taught to embody this more masculine energy. And then we have the Death card. So when I split the deck, we had the Death card. So there definitely is a shift happening. Let me take that card out if I can find it. There definitely is a shift happening when it comes to humanity's growth and evolution. And as far as like, you know, generationally and the legacy of humanity and what humanity is and how we do interact and how we do navigate. But at the same time, there is tension because change is not something humanity is used to, right? Humanity is used to, I heard authoritarianism? Okay, let's see what shadow cards we get out here. How does humanity feel about change, Spirit? How does humanity feel about change? Thank you. How does humanity feel about change? How does humanity feel about change? How does humanity feel about change? One more. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Ooh, so we have emotional release. We have addiction coming out on top because that wasn't the last card, emotional release, but it showed itself. So with emotional release and addiction on the bottom, let's see what came out. We have arrogance. What did I say? It's that, and what do you see on this card? A masculine looking energy. And so again, it's this energy of arrogance, right? Not seeing flaws hinders growth. No limits to learn and improve. Humility, awareness, growth. And how have we been, I wanted to say societally and structurally, systemically taught, right? Again, that energy of I'm out for me, not for we. I'm seeking my justice, not everyone's justice. And I'm not only just doing it lackadaisically, but I'm doing it passionately, right? I'm doing it hastily. I'm doing it with I don't care. I'm not interested in growth. I'm not interested in knowing my limits to learn and improve. Humility. I'm interested in me. I'm interested in, it's very selfish, right? It's very selfish. It's very, again, me focused. We have defensive, which makes sense as well, right? When you think of what I mentioned, when it comes to sharing and community and coming together, humanity has a defensiveness toward it, a resistance toward it, because of this sense of arrogance. I know everything. What I say goes. Changed is impossible. What is what is. We can't change it. That's what it is. That's what I say. It's kind of like this even blindness, right? Blindness to fault, because we are so indoctrinated to be stuck in this defensiveness when it comes to working together. It says unseen resistance to unresolved issues. Explore with curiosity, reflection, acceptance, growth. There's this lack of curiosity, right? There's this lack of reflection. There's this lack of wanting to come together, resolve issues. There's this lack of wanting to grow because of this fear surrounding loss of control, surrounding loss of hierarchy, right? Arrogance coming out. And we have shame and guilt. Feel them without judgment. Mistakes do not define your worth. Compassion, acceptance. What's coming out on the Page of Wands and the Death card and the Fool, it's like with emotional release and addiction, humanity views change as something, there's resistance, but the resistance comes from this addiction to shame and guilt, this addiction to, because arrogance is not necessarily, I feel good about myself genuinely, it's just kind of a show. Defensiveness isn't necessarily about, I am accepting or I am feeling good. It's more about I'm lacking something or I'm feeling triggered, so I need to come at you, I need to yell at you, instead of what is actually causing me to feel defensive. Why do I feel like I need to put on a show or act like I'm better than people? So humanity is dealing with shame and guilt, a lack of compassion and acceptance, a lack of accepting mistakes, right? If you think about it, we're all literally taught that mistakes are bad, we shouldn't make them, you should know everything, you should be perfect, right? This defensive, like, I know everything, I am perfect, I can't do anything wrong, you can't tell me, I don't have anything else to learn. When it's like, we actually do have more to learn, right? We actually do have more that we can expand upon if we choose to come together. So humanity, with, again, Journey Inward came out when I took these cards off the end of the deck, the bottom of the deck. So it's like humanity is addicted to not feeling emotions, and I heard withholding shame and guilt, which makes sense, right? If you think about it in that way, withholding shame and guilt, withholding feeling shame and guilt. But humanity is stuck in emotional narratives and energy of shame and guilt. And we're addicted to acting out in ways such as arrogance, defensiveness, me, individualism. But with Journey Inward, it's like, again, more people are being called to journey inward. In order to change, we do need to journey inward. We do need to support each other. With addiction, it says compulsive need despite negative consequences. Get support in therapy, healing, liberation, support. If you think about it, we have been taught that therapy is bad, right? Support is bad. Everybody should be able to do what they need to do on their own. You shouldn't have to rely on people. If you rely on people, you're going to feel shame and guilt because you're bad. You shouldn't need help. If you need help, you don't need help. Arrogance. I'm going to be arrogant about it. I know everything. If you do need help, people then get defensive, or you get defensive because you do need help. right? And so we're addicted to acting out in certain ways because we're not feeling our feelings. Emotional release, letting go creates space for new beginnings, catharsis, purification. And so let's see, how does humanity feel about change and all? Right? We've done the reading. This is what came out. Overall, I feel like there are aspects of humanity, parts of humanity that are healing, that are opening up to this new mindset, this new way of being, community, love. I heard culture. A new culture is being created, a new side of life, a new way of life, a new earth, even, right? If you resonate with that, if you know, you're going to know. But that is being created and that is in process, right? People are changing things up and things are happening. However, for the majority of people, we are and have been indoctrinated. Even those people that are changing, right? They're changing at a foundational level, these systems that are based upon unhealthy, wounded, masculine energy, based upon defensiveness, shame, guilt, arrogance, not feeling your emotions, being addicted to chaos, being addicted to drama, being addicted to shame and guilt, being addicted to a lack of feeling, being addicted to this sense of stuckness, this sense of not wanting to grow or move or expand. How does humanity feel about change? Now I'm thinking with the Two of Swords that I saw, I feel like humanity feels like change. It's like a split. There's a split. That's what it is. Because when you think about defensiveness, I said defensiveness. So it's like maybe one side is defensive toward it, which obviously that would make sense, right? If there's a separation, there obviously is some sort of, but, dang, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, with the Two of Swords having been out, it's saying, it showed itself during the reading, it's saying that there are two sides. There is a separation happening, right? Of people who are going to change and people who are not going to change. People who are willing to, be communal, see justice as justice for everyone, not just be out for self. But then there are people who don't want to change, who are defensive and resistant toward it, who will unfortunately stay in that space if they do not open up to this emotional release, to this letting go, to the changes of foundations and traditions that are taking place in other aspects in other parts of the world. And change is needed. I feel like in the beginning the reading felt very bright. It felt very optimistic when I pulled the Justice with the Page of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles on the bottom. But then we started getting into the reality. So again, it's like change is meant to be seen as this one thing, this togetherness, this great thing that can help everyone. But it's been turned into this very rigid, masculine dominated sort of confiscated energy where people cannot move. They are stuck emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And again, with that energy, there are people who are doing and there are people who are not doing. And so really it's a matter of, what are you choosing to do? How are you choosing to be? How do you want to live your life? And so I ask you to ask yourself that question. How do you want to live your life? How do you want to feel every day? What do you want to exist in? Do you want to feel like you're alone in everything? Or do you want to be able to have a sense of community, a sense of love, a sense of support that you can go to? And there's a need to follow the direction of your heart, of your soul's true calling when it comes to whether or not you're going to join in on the change or you're going to resist it and be defensive toward it, right? Because again, that separation is happening, and it's not a literal separation, right? Like New Earth. It's not like two Earths are going to be created, right? But there will be people who are living from a very distinct way of living and people who are living from and for another very distinct way of living. One of my dreams, I heard Armageddon, which is the battle of, I think it's light and dark or good and evil, right? And so again, there are these two sides. Which side do you want to put energy toward in your own daily life? I beg you to ask yourself that question. And if you made it to the end of this reading, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, go ahead and like this video, comment on this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you resonate with my energy and or this message. And until next time, wolves, bye.